this is Mr. Maximus Film. Today I'm doing an album review for Pink Floyd's 1979 album, The Wall, continuing the Pink Floyd discography series with its 11th installment. Now, The Wall is a very interesting point in Pink Floyd's career. It's a double album, it's their second double album. It's a rock opera, and it's much more lyrically driven than all Pink Floyd's past work. The lyrics are the focal point of this album, and conceptually, it's brilliant. The concept in this album is probably the strongest out of any Pink Floyd album. It tells a story, and it tells it well. Now, of course, it's a product of Roger Waters' bitterness and cynicism and disenchantment with his rock star life. During the In the Flesh tour, he became, like I said, disenchanted with the life he was living. He disliked the fans that were listening to Pink Floyd, who were mostly drugged out and, not really caring about what Roger had to say. And famously, he spat on a fan, reflecting a lyric in Dogs, ironically. And he also stopped in the middle of a performance of Pigs on the Wing to tell everybody to just shut up and listen to what he was saying. And he used Pink Floyd as a vehicle to express his bitterness and cynicism, and because it's so lyrically driven, the band members that are more part of the musical aspect of the Pink Floyd, such as Richard Wright, Nick Mason, and David Gilmour, suffer. Richard Wright doesn't do a whole lot on this album, even less than Animals, and Nick Mason's drumming is very sparse and kind of bland. He does have an occasional moment, like, of course, as people keep talking about when people criticize Nick Mason's drumming. At the end of Happiest Days of Our Lives, he does a cool fill that's reminiscent of The Lion King, some people think, and I see what they're getting with that. And David Gilmour would still have some great moments on this album, some great vocal deliveries, because of his kind of passive-aggressive nature and fighting to get his voice heard within this band that was slowly becoming Roger Waters' backing group. Now, The Wall, as I said, is conceptually brilliant. The concept in this album is real, and it affects a lot of people on listening to it. It's dark, it's moody, and it's filled with angst. A lot more angst than even Animals, the album that came before this. Stretched on 4 sides of vinyl, it's a bloated album. It's a humongous record. It's an iconic album, and it remains one of Pink Floyd's most popular albums. But for me, it has a major weakness. The fact that the other classic Pink Floyd releases before this, such as Animals, Wish You Were Here, and Dark Side of the Moon, had such a group of strong songs. On all of those albums, there's rarely a song where you could say, oh, that's horrible. On The Wall, there are several moments where the songs are cringeworthy. And The Wall is really laid out differently than all the albums I mentioned. It has some really great pinnacle moments to the story. Songs like Mother, One of My Turns, Hey You, of course, Comfortably Numb, The Trial, Run Like Hell. It's these really pinnacle songs to the album, which are glued together almost with these shorter ditties, as I say, shorter songs that are weak and sometimes add almost nothing to the plot. Vera, Bring the Boys Back Home. I'm trying to think. Don't Leave Me Now, which is a longer one, but there's not a lot going on there. So that's how this album suffers to me, and it's never been one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums, although it's conceptually brilliant, and there are moments of pure beauty and musical genius on this record. The story, for those of you who don't know, which is probably none, is about a boy named Pink. And it's largely more like an autobiography of Roger Waters, thrown in with some ideas from Syd Barrett's craziness. Pink is a boy who has a troubled childhood. Abusive schoolmasters, strict schoolmasters. His father dies in World War II. He has an overprotective mother. And all of these is what Pink calls these bricks in this wall between him and the rest of society. Obviously touching on the themes of alienation that were already present in previous Pink Floyd albums, but here it becomes the focal point. Now, Pink continues to build this wall, and he becomes a rock star. And his wife leaves him. He has a run-in with a groupie, and he completes this wall. And that's the first record. The second record is more about him struggling inside of the wall and him breaking free from the wall. Now, it begins with Hey You, which is him trying to reach out to people outside of his little world that he's created. Is There Anybody Out There follows the same pattern. And it gets into this weird kind of World War II aspect in that side that doesn't really fit in with the concept, but I'll get into that later. And eventually, when the record people find him, they inject him with some drugs so he can keep playing his rock shows. And he, because of these hallucinogenic drugs, he imagines himself to be a Nazi dictator, probably Hitler. And it's a bit symbolic, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of where this album is going. But it's a great moment. It's an exciting moment in the album. And after that, he has this inner trial within himself. He tells himself to stop with this hallucinations. He has an inner trial, and he tears down the wall. Now, spotting on good moments in individual songs, of course, I really enjoy the beginning, In the Flesh. It's just kind of like a prelude, and it really shows the theatricality of Pink Floyd at the time. This is kind of Pink Floyd's most theatrical album because it's a rock opera, and In the Flesh shows that. Has a great riff by David Gilmour, and it probably has one of my favorite moments from Richard Wright on this album, with the keyboard, the organ that's going throughout it. Even though it's not a huge thing, I really like his aesthetics on that song. And you will notice right from the beginning that Roger Waters is, of course, usually the main singer on this record. But I can't imagine it any other way, because Roger's singing really reflects the bitterness that David Gilmour probably couldn't get out with his more lofty vocals. And of course, I really like this parts in the album where he's describing building the wall. Another Brick in the Wall, part 1, 2, and 3. They're all great songs. Of course, part 2 is the famous hit with the disco beat and the children's choir, so I won't go into that. I really like part 1, though. Part 1's a really intense moment, which is talking about his dad dying in World War II, and it has a really nice vocal delivery from Roger Waters, which captures the intensity of his anger about that, and great little scurrying guitar patterns overlaying it, and it's a really nice conceptual piece for the album. I really like Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, no matter how overplayed it is, and Mother is a great song, a great ballad from Roger Waters. It's kind of sexist. It's talking about Pink's mother being overprotective. But I think it's a great standout moment conceptually for the album. Another great moment follows. It's called Goodbye Blue Sky. And it conceptually, in terms of the concept of the album, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It kind of interjects this World War II theme into it, which would later be completely revisited on the final cut. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the song itself is brilliant. It starts out with these bird noises, and you can hear airplanes flying over the sky, and a kid says, "Mummy, look, there's an airplane in the sky," and these great acoustic guitars come in, and David Gilmour has a very standout moment in terms of delivery. It's a very powerful song talking about what people experienced in World War II. Then the album kind of turns a bit weak. The weaker songs start to stand out. Empty Spaces, Don't Leave Me Now. They're all kind of these overly intense songs that leave you kind of cringing. But on that second side of the record, there's songs like Young Lust and One of My Turns, which is one of my favorite songs on the album. Probably my favorite songs is One of My Turns, because it's probably the most theatrical and story driving of the album. It's talking about Pink, who is just kind of comatose and doesn't like the rock star life anymore, and a groupie wants to have sex with him, and then he just rages and just throws his guitar, and they make a good use of dynamics in that song to show when Pink is being quiet within himself and then using it to attack other people. They do a really good job on that song. But like I said, those weaker songs make this album kind of a slug to listen to, especially when you get to the second side. But there are saving graces, once again, when you get to the second record, after he completes The Wall, which is another great moment. Another Brick in the Wall Part 3 is talking about drugs and how Pink feels he doesn't need them anymore. And he completes The Wall, and it's a really intense, nice moment to end the first record. Then the second record comes in with Hey You, which is another great moment. Great kind of harpsichord-esque keyboard from Richard Wright. Another, sparse moment from him. And then it's overall great song, great tender vocals from David Gilmour. What I like about this album is they use David Gilmour well when Pink is becoming very tender and less bitter. They use David Gilmour effectively in his style of singing, which is a lot less aggressive than Roger Waters. After Hey You, though, and Is There Anybody Out There, which I love the acoustic guitar solo at the end, which I don't think is performed by a band member, actually, but it's a great classical guitar moment. Nobody Home comes in, which is probably the most depressing song on the album. I love the piano, and it's probably the song on the album inspired by Syd Barrett and how he was really inside a wall. But then after that, Vera and Bring the Boys Back Home come in, which is re-injects the World War II theme, and it doesn't make any sense in terms of the concept. It just doesn't, and it's just kind of there. Now, of course, Comfortably Numb comes in, and it's another saving grace, another great use of the dynamic between Roger Waters' cynical vocals and David Gilmour's spacey vocals. And it's just a great song. What more can I say about it? It's very empowering, it's theatrical, and it works very well. The Show Must Go On is a great song as well, where they wanted the Beach Boys to come on this album, but instead they had to use some backup singers. And great use of kind of Beach Boys-esque harmonies, and that's when Pink has a hallucination, envisions himself as a Nazi dictator, and probably the most angry part of the album, with In the Flesh, a reprise of that song with him striking out against Jews and gays, etc. And it's just a really weird moment, and probably the darkest moment on this album. And it works really well, but like I said, conceptually it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This hallucination that's just kind of thrown in there. I don't know, maybe you guys could explain to me how it fits in with the concept. And after Waiting for the Worms, which is talking about, how Pink envisions himself as a dictator and is going to make Britain the main country and ruling over everybody, he just tells himself to stop with a 30-second song called Stop, with frantic piano. And sometimes I think that Richard Wright didn't even play all the piano on this album because he just left. Anyway. And then it gets into The Trial, which is the most theatrical song in this album. It's kind of a slog in terms of the song. It's talking about Pink facing all the bricks that he built and him just tearing down the wall. And then Outside the Wall comes in, which is a very interesting song because it creates the feeling that this album is an infinite loop. Because after the tearing down of the wall, Roger is just kind of describing everybody else's lives outside of this wall. And then it ends with a voice saying, "Isn't this where?" And at the beginning of the album, if you notice, a voice says, "We came in." So it creates this feeling that the album is just an infinite rebuilding the wall, tearing it down, rebuilding the wall, tearing it down, showing how we never really change. We always build these walls. Whew, that was a mouthful. And The Wall is a the sound of The Wall is dated. And compared to the rest of the Pink Floyd albums, it very much sounds like it's from 1979. But yet at the same time, it will forever speak to people conceptually. And this is why The Wall is a brilliant album, and probably the pinnacle of Roger Waters' ramblings about society. Now, I'm going to give this album an 8 out of 10. And a lot of you will probably be raising your hands up in the air and saying, "How dare you, this is a classic record." But like I said, the flawed moments, the flawed conceptual moments, make this album not completely perfect. But it's still a fantastic record that I do come back to occasionally, and will forever be one of Pink Floyd's most popular and universal albums. And this marks the point where Roger Waters is just kind of the band. Which one Pink? Roger Waters is Pink Floyd. Now, getting into the packaging. I actually really enjoyed this packaging. It's one of the first not to be done by Hipgnosis since Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And Pink Floyd The Wall is on a sticker, because that's how it was originally released, in black, how it's supposed to be. Opening it up, I really like these political cartoons done by Gerald Scarfe. And, of course, you have the judge during the trial, which is depicted as a giant butt. The hammers, which is this motif of the Nazi portion of the album, and all the factors that built the wall. Pretty simple, but it does its job. So, The Wall gets an 8 out of 10. Whew, what a long review. And this is Mr. Maxim's film. This is my review of Pink Floyd's The Wall. And I'll see you guys next time.